Neil Bridge, one of the greatest pioneers of jazz education within the Denver area. Phenomenal pianist. And we're going to be interviewing him today. My name is Jake Alvarez. So just to get started, when did you first start teaching jazz to high school students, Mr. Bridge?
Well, actually, I think I started at the CEC, Career Education Center. Oh, it's been so long. Anyway, it was in the 70s. And then I started the high school jazz combo in 78. And I had classes at the Career Education Center, it was called then, where I tried to show, to the best of my ability, some things on the keyboard and guitar class, and that was a trip. Because I never played guitar, I'd stay one page ahead of the students. Just to help them out, because the guitar still is the big thing, you know. So it was in the 70s.
Cool. Why do you think that it's important for kids my age, like 15 or 16 or younger, to learn how to play music, or jazz especially, or any kind of music?
Well, let's say music. Because I'll just use myself as an example. I started piano when I was 8, and I went through the classics. I did the Chopin and the Beethoven and that. And somehow, I'm glad my mother made me stick to it, because I'd rather be out playing football or softball, you know, not want to be a sissy piano player in those days. You know, if you play it, the kids would make fun of you. So then about my sophomore year in high school, then I got interested in music. Now, I love classical music. I have Horowitz, Rubinstein, Walter Giesking, a lot of great pianists. I love to listen to them, but it's not the way I want to express myself. But music is so great that we found a saying. What was it again, sweetie? Music and art.
Music and art. It's something about the dust from the soul.
Wipes away the
dust from the soul.
It is so expressive. It makes, at least for me, to what extent I can, the best I can. I like the classical music, but I couldn't express myself that way. Because if you play Chopin or Beethoven, you have to play the way it was written. The way Chopin heard it, the way Bach heard it.
The way it's written on the page.
Well, yeah, but that isn't the way I wanted to play. And then when I heard jazz, I heard Basie and Duke Ellington, Woody Herman, Stan Kenton, I said, that's the way I want to play. From my experience, if I don't have, of course, you have a set introduction and a set ending and some ensemble things in between with a trio or any size, but I never play a tune the same way twice. That's the great thing about jazz and music. It allows you to express your feeling at that point. And that's why I think it's so great. Music is so great, especially jazz. The musician has a chance to express his or her feeling.
Cool. And speaking about expression, what do you think has been the most fulfilling part of being a musician or a teacher even?
When my former students come up to me and say, remember me, Mr. Bridge? Of course, it was 20, 30 years ago, and I said, oh yeah, I guess so. They've changed so much. But that's what's great. Now, in fact, one of the greatest things about being a music teacher is every once in a while, my former students will hire me. Well, let's call the old man, to be a piano player. But how many science teachers, math teachers, do things with their former students?
Little, if
I don't know.
I mean,
what does a history teacher do when a student, gets out of school? Does he do anything with? Hopefully, I'm not stepping on some toes here, but at least in music, the music teacher, if he's a professional musician, it's great that you can share the music with your former students. Like I played with Nelson Rangel, I played in Conjunto Clores with Gary Socias, who was a great timbali player, and Javon Jackson, sat in with him, etc., etc. It's great.
Cool. Speaking of big names, I'm just curious, who have you played with? Like, you know, just, like, name.
Do we have enough time?
Yeah.
Well, I was the house pianist at this club on East Colfax called the Bandbox. I was there for roughly 2 years. I started with Johnny Smith. He may not be the most popular guitar player, but to the average public, but he was a great guitar player. Then I can't remember the distinctive order, but Charlie Ventura, tenor sax player, Terry Gibbs, Sonny Stitt. Now that was a trip. Sonny Stitt.
Yeah.
Shoo! Frank Rosalino, and he was a trip. Who am I leaving out?
The vocalist.
The vocal, yeah.
Anita.
Anita O'Day. That was a trip. I don't know if you're familiar with these names.
Couple of them.
Yeah. Dakota State, and I went on the road with her. Mel Torme, I backed him up. Cab Calloway, I backed in. The Mills Brothers. Oh boy, I can't remember them all right now. Nelson Riddle, that was a great. I remember I was playing with the Denver Symphony at the time. It was called the Denver Symphony, and he came in and he played his charts, and I was listening to the arrangement because I like to arrange in it. Beautiful parts, and I forgot to come in on my piano part. But he looks at me, but I was so gassed by the charts, you know. It was great.
Yeah. And speaking of arranging, what inspires you to arrange for smaller groups?
Oh boy, I guess the smaller groups. Well, like our band right now, we have 3 horns. And the smaller groups gives the musician more chance to express himself. Because in a big band, and Paul, you know, is so aware of this, unless you're the featured soloist, what do you get, 16 measures?
Cool. I want to talk about your career as a teacher real quick. How long have you been teaching, or teaching
Well,
combo?
I started in '62 in Baker Junior High. Then I went through a couple junior highs, and I ended up at East High School, and then I ended up at the Career Education Center. So it was 25 years. Oh, I started at Sheridan Union High School. I was 3 years there, and then 25 years in the Denver Public Schools.
Cool. And some of your students, even, they're still out there playing.
Oh,
wherever.
yeah.
Can you recall any certain
Nelson Rangel, Dot Cerro, David Pearl, who's in New York and he's doing real well. Javon Jackson, sax player. Brad Leely, I think she's down teaching in Texas right now.
North Texas.
North Texas, is he
Yeah.
in North Texas?
Yeah.
Oh boy, all the
Ron
Miles,
Yeah.
Gary Socias, great timbali player. Don Cheadle, who's a great actor now.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I can't remember all the names. I can't remember all the names right now. Oh, I did an arrangement for Diane, a couple of arrangements for Diane Reeves when she was at George Washington High School. And thank God she still remembers me. Last time I saw her, oh, Mr. Bridge, you know. That was neat. She's a nice lady.
Yeah.
And they have got me out of. One time we played at this joint on East Colfax. It was with Phil Urso, I think, a jazz group. And my wife and I came out afterwards to go to the parking lot to get our car, and there was a fight going on. 2 gangs were starting to fight. And I started walking out, and this one, I didn't realize he was a former student. The one guy says, well, I can't use the word. I'll use a different word. Hey man, you don't mess with Mr. Bridge. And they quit fighting. They just walked to the car, and that's a true story. Yeah, you don't mess with. He didn't use mess, the word mess, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll use our imaginations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
use your imagination.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah. That's a true story, right?
Oh, man.